What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Loading Up Podcast. I am your host, Producer Jay, going solo this week because scheduling conflicts with Producer Jay, Brother Zay and Brother Tay, and even me, myself, because this past weekend I was at Comic-Con, which took up a lot of my time and made me very exhausted, to say the least. And yeah, it was just too hard to come up with the time to do everything. And plus, Brother Zay is actually celebrating his wedding anniversary, so congratulations to him and his wife. So I didn't want to force him to do a podcast when he has more important things to worry about. But anyway, before we get into all the usual talk, because this episode is going to be pretty light, just because it's hard to talk for a lot. I know I can rant, but it's easier to do when there's at least two people, so that way I can, bounce off and stuff like that. But anyway, before I get into all the news topics that I have, I just want to remind you that you can like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. You can also rate us on a podcasting app, whatever app you're using, Google Music, or not Google Music, YouTube Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever it is. You can rate us, share us, and that will help us out a lot. You can also support us by supporting our sponsors, which is W Energy. You can use code LUP at checkout to save 10% off your first order. You can also help us out by clicking the link to NordVPN. You could save 67% off your first subscription. And you can also help us out by clicking the Starforge PCs link for your custom PC needs. We thank you for supporting our sponsors. With that out of the way, I just want to go over what I've been playing, because normally this is the time when Brother Zay will ask me what I'm playing, or when I ask Brother Zay what he's playing, but it's just me, so I'll just tell you what I've been playing. And it's the game you're looking at right now if you're watching on YouTube. More Sparking Zero, because I cannot get enough of this game. It's so good. I was not joking last week when I said I love this game. This game is perfect in my eyes. Alright, I lied. It's not perfect. After playing it for a while, I kind of found more imperfections and stuff like that. So, as with any game, the more you play, the more you see, and the more you see wrong with it, but you learn to live with it. And a lot of the imperfections it's very small little things. Like, alright, I'll say one thing that is bothering me. And this wasn't really an issue in like other Dragon Ball games and the Tenkaichi and stuff like that. Is the way they do the story mode. So in past games, they did basically, in all freaking Dragon Ball games, even actually, alright, I don't know. I can't really attest to other anime games because I don't really play them. So I don't really know how their storylines are usually, but the Dragon Ball ones tend to follow the same formula. They'll retell the story and kind of add like new elements to it, maybe new dialogue and more refined animations and stuff like that. So it's basically the story, the Dragon Ball Z story, and Super, I guess now, just retold. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot was like that. Fighter Z wasn't. It was a unique story. It was a original story, which I like. Xenoverse was kind of like that, but it added a twist where it was more like a what if scenario, but you kind of just went through the basic storylines and then, it branched off from there. But this one is a little bit different because they tell the story, but they break it up by character rather than like Saga. So like normally you'll play like usually it starts from when Gohan gets kidnapped by Raditz, and then you play as Goku, you fight Raditz, and then it takes off from there, and Piccolo trains Gohan and stuff like that, and you fight the Vegeta and Nappa and stuff like that. It's like you play out how it plays out in the show. But this time they're doing it by character, so you have to play as Goku first. I guess you don't have to play as him first, but you start off as Goku. I think that's the first option. Once you start, then you get access to all the other characters. But then you only play as Goku. You only play his part of the story. So after Raditz, he'll die, and then he won't come back until Vegeta and Nappa show up. So there's a lot that's missing in that timeline. And then even then, like after Vegeta and Nappa, it goes right into the Frieza because he's hurt, and then he doesn't face off against any. He faced off against, like, I think Birder or something like that. And then Frieza, and then it's on to the next saga. So it's only like a few fights in per saga, per character. So it's a very weird way of doing it, and I kind of don't like that because I'm used to just playing the story out and playing different characters as the story plays out. Like I would have liked to play as the characters as, you know, the story plays out, you know? I want to fight as Gohan against the Cybermen. I want to play as Piccolo against Nappa and stuff like that. I want to do that. I don't want to wait per character and have to go back into the menu to pick that character and then start their story and yada yada yada. Yeah, that's kind of another thing that I don't like. Aside from like bugs and, you know, small glitches and stuff like that. I haven't played online yet, which I'm kind of worried about it because I've heard that there's already like cheaters and there's already like rage quitters and stuff like that, and that's one thing that kind of it turns me off from playing online games like this, especially fighting games, because I deal with that a lot in like the wrestling games. Like I can't even play a wrestling game online anymore because the second that I'm about to win, they just quit and then it ends the game and it doesn't even give me the win. Like why not just give the person who stayed the win? Like, I don't know. In my mind, that makes sense, but apparently not in the developer's mind, but whatever. So I'm a little worried about starting online. So, I mean, maybe, we'll see if I play more online. I mean, I was playing online in the last week and this week and stuff like that, but it's, yeah. I'm talking about like ranked. I'm not really talking about like just, you know, social play. Ranked, I'm worried about, and, I might take my time with that. Anyway, yeah, so that's what I've been playing. Nothing really else. I've been making more progress in Dungeons of Hinterberg. That game, like, it has a interesting story. Like, I really like how it's playing out, and I do want to finish it, but I mean, it's one of my games that I play at work on my break, and I only get an hour break, so it's like I only play an hour a day, which is a lot, but it's still not enough to, you know, make any significant progress in that. But I'm slowly working through. I'm almost done. So I will be working towards a new game, and I already have it picked out, and I'll announce it once I finish this one. Yeah, that's what I've been playing. So yeah, so with that, we will go on into the news. Now, granted, I only picked out a few stories that I wanted to talk about. I mean, normally, like, Brother Zay will pick out, you know, a bunch of different stories to kind of react to and stuff like that. Because it's just me, I'm just gonna focus on a few, just so I'm not rambling for too long. But yeah, so the first story is, Craig Duncan, which is, the former head of Rare. He's actually being promoted to, the Xbox Game Studios lead. So in a significant leadership change, Craig Duncan, the current head former head of Rare, has been promoted to lead Xbox Game Studios, lead at Xbox Game Studios, succeeding Alan Hartman, who is retiring at the end of November. Duncan, who has been with Rare for nearly 14 years and led the studio through the success of Sea of Thieves, will now oversee some of Xbox's most prominent games development studios, including Halo Studios, Turn 10, Playground Games, Obsidian, and Ninja Theory. So, basically, he's kind of taking the role of what Matt Booty used to have, because I know they did, like a restructuring of sorts not too long ago, and, Alan Hartman, he was the former head of Turn 10 Studios, the developer for Forza. So it's, he's retiring, which he only was on the job for like a year, I think. It wasn't that long ago that they put him in that position. So, he's retiring. So they put Craig Duncan in there, and he's been with, Xbox for 14 years. Like I said, it's deserved because if you look at the success of Sea of Thieves, like that's really what you gotta look at for this. Like, if anybody's questioning why this guy, it's because of Sea of Thieves. Like, let's be honest. Like, that game, for all its shortcomings, they stood with that game and saw it through to become a success. Because when it first launched, it was not a success. And the fact that they put in the time, they put in the effort, and they made it into something that people actually are dedicated to playing. Like, it has its own dedicated player base, which is not a lot of games have these days. So it only made sense. And I mean, so he's a veteran, and it is interesting though. Now, if you think about it, that because Rare is a European studio, and I don't think he's gonna relocate. So it stands to reason that this would be the first time that an American-based company would put a European studio head in charge of their studios. Like, I don't know the logistics of that or what it pertains to. Like, he'll probably have to do a lot of traveling anyway, so it really doesn't matter where he's located, just as long as he's able to, you know, touch base with the studios. And I mean, I'm sure that he can do that from home. He doesn't need to constantly travel. But yeah, this is pretty cool. It's interesting that they chose Rare to do that. I feel like they would have chosen maybe another studio, because when they chose Alan Hartman, like, Turn 10 has been with Microsoft forever. I mean, so has Rare, but it's one of those things where, like, a lot of people would count Rare out, because like they have successes, but they're few and far between. Because, like, if you think about it, when was the last time, before Sea of Thieves, when was the last time Rare was in any sort of, like, conversation of, like, a high quality studio and stuff like that? So, I mean, they have something with Everwild. If that ever comes to fruition, maybe they'll show it off next year. We don't know. But it does kind of put a lot of pressure, too, on Rare to kind of deliver, because who's to say that they won't, or who's to say that they will be able to replicate what they did with Sea of Thieves? Because like I said, but Sea of Thieves wasn't the, like, super successful game out the gate. It took time, and it took a lot of work. It took a lot of trials and tribulations to get it to where it's at today. So hopefully they learn from their mistakes and don't fall in the same pitfalls that Sea of Thieves did for Everwild. Now, I know behind the scenes reporting says that Everwild's development has been kind of like up and down. Right now it's in an up position, I guess. Like, it's looking up. Development is positive, but who knows if it's going to stay that way. I think what hurt it the most was that it was just announced way too early. Like, I don't think any of the games that they were shown off in the 2020 Xbox Game Showcase should have been shown, including Halo, which was supposed to come out that same year. I'm glad they delayed it, but yeah, almost all the games that were shown off in that thing, even Contraband, and I'm trying to think of all the other games that it's been so long. That's State of Decay, like that probably might come next year. I think they said it was coming next year. I don't remember. But yeah, so it puts a lot of pressure on Rare, because, like, if they're going to promote this guy to being the lead of Xbox Game Studios, then, like, you kind of have to back it up and not give him a reason, but, like, you know, show why they chose him over any other studio head or anything like that. So, yeah, so good for him. Congratulations to him. And hopefully Rare can, you know, pull off whatever they have planned for Everwild, whatever that ends up being, because we still don't know to this day. We just know it's open world and it has a unique aesthetic. But yeah, so who knows? We'll find out soon, won't we? Hopefully. Sorry, just taking a sip. All right, so on to the next news. I'm going to be running through these because, like I said, it's going to be a shorter episode. So Microsoft is set to expand the Xbox Cloud gaming with Project Lapland, sorry, allowing users to stream games they own, not just to those included in Game Pass. Starting in November, Xbox insiders will be able to test the feature with a wider rollout expected soon after. This update follows the recent court ruling that enables Microsoft to sell games directly through its Android app. The project aims to bolster Xbox Cloud gaming servers to support thousands of titles, significantly expanding the available game library. This move is expected to make Xbox gaming more accessible, versatile for users, offering a broader range of gaming options to various devices. So basically, they're going to allow users to play their library of games that they purchased on the cloud. So right now, as it stands, the only games you can play on the cloud are those in Game Pass. And technically, you can play games on the cloud that you own. The only way to do it, though, is you have to stream it from your Xbox. And that can be hit or miss depending on if you're hardwired, if you're on Wi-Fi, what is your internet connection, and, what is the status of, the internet in your area, because that can affect it too. Your data plan, all this, that. There's a lot of factors that can attribute to better or worse experience, or quality of experience, I should say. And so it can vary. But with this, they're going to allow you to play games you own on your Xbox or even on PC and stream them from straight from the cloud, not streaming from your Xbox at home, just straight from the cloud servers. And that is significant, especially for me, because so I can technically do it. I can stream from my Xbox. I'm hardwired. I have gigabit internet. So in my situation, it's a little bit more ideal. The problem, though, it comes with when. So it's it's very unique, I guess you could say. So let's say if my fiance is home, she likes to use the Xbox, to sometimes play games, sometimes to watch Netflix and stuff like that. So if I try to stream from my Xbox while she's using it, then I can't do anything because she's using it. I mean, technically I could, but I'd be watching what she's doing, or she'd be watching what I'm doing. So it's a bit of a hassle. But in my case, I would like the ability to play games that I already own, just to stream it to whatever device I am, my phone, my ROG Ally, whatever. And cloud can be hit or miss in terms of latency and lag and artifacting and stuff like that. But in my experience, it's actually pretty decent for a large number of games that don't require fast inputs. You're not going to be playing a Twitch shooter, although I'll get to in a second. Call of Duty is actually coming to cloud, but I'll talk about that next. But for turn-based games, it seems perfect. For RTS games, it seems for games that don't require you to be super reactive, that cloud gaming just works. And there's a lot of games like that. I was actually contemplating playing, because I actually have the physical version of Marvel's Midnight Suns, which is a turn-based game. But the only way I would be able to play it on the go is if I install it on my Xbox and then stream it from my Xbox. Now that's only because I have the physical game. But if I bought the digital game and they, once this rolls out, technically, if they allow it, because now every game is not going to be able to be played. It's only going to be a certain amount of games at the start, and then they're going to slowly roll out more qualifying titles, because publishers have to basically sign off on this, because it's not, they want people to buy multiple versions. They don't want people to have access to their games, or have multiple licenses to their games. In the publisher's mind, if you wanted to play a cloud version of a game, they want you to buy it again to play it on the cloud. Same thing with like Play Anywhere, Xbox Play Anywhere, where you can buy a game on Xbox and have the PC version. Publishers don't like that because they want you to buy the PC version as well. They want you to buy multiple copies because that's all they care about. They just want the sale. So stuff like this is why, like, I appreciate Microsoft for, like, making the consumer experience better, because ultimately that's what matters to me, and that's what should matter to everybody listening here, because unless you work for PlayStation, Microsoft, whatever, you should be caring about the consumer. You should be worrying about what benefits you as a consumer, and this type of stuff benefits you as a consumer. So I love this, and I anticipate trying it out. I am an insider, so I'm going to look into it to see if I can get in early or whatever, however they decide to roll this out. But I'm looking forward to it. There's a lot of games that I would like to play in my library that would be perfect for cloud, and that I can just stream it whenever I want. I don't have to link it to my Xbox. I don't have to do anything. I could just play it, and it's perfect. So, yeah. Now, going back to what I said about Call of Duty. So, one of the interesting things is, in addition to this, these were separate announcements, but because it revolves around cloud gaming, I kind of lumped them together. Call of Duty is actually coming to cloud. Modern Warfare 3 and Black Ops and Warzone. They're coming to cloud, gaming day one. I'm assuming, because you still need a Game Pass Ultimate subscription to play cloud right now. I'm gonna assume that eventually they'll just have a cloud-based tier, like maybe $5, just so you can play cloud games. But that's later on down the line. But yeah, so Call of Duty's coming to cloud, which is very significant because if you remember, during the ABK trial, one of the concessions that Xbox had to make it wasn't the ABK trial, it was with the CMA and the EU and stuff like that. They required Xbox to basically sell off the rights for cloud games for ABK games, for cloud-based ABK games. So they had to sell it off, and they sold it to Ubisoft. Now, Ubisoft, they do have a cloud gaming platform, but it's still in beta, and I don't think it's public yet. I think it's still, like, testing. Like, they haven't rolled it out yet, so you still kind of have to, like, apply to get in and try it out. It's not working 100%. It's not really that good from what I've heard. But, yeah, Ubisoft owns the rights to the ABK cloud versions of the ABK games. So realistically, they can put all the ABK games on their cloud service whenever it decides to launch. And they can make deals with other cloud gaming services, like GeForce Now, or even PlayStation Plus streaming, whatever they call it. Even Nintendo. Like, if they want, I know Nintendo does the streaming too for certain games. They can do it that, but it has to be through Ubisoft. So people were surprised when they heard that Modern Warfare 3 and Warzone and Black Ops 6 were going to be cloud gaming, because when Diablo first came to Game Pass, it's not available in the cloud. It's only available on console and PC, which is, I know a lot of people get frustrated with that, because that's another game that's kind of like, it's pretty good on cloud. So this was, I guess this was kind of like priority for Xbox to try and get it on the cloud, because they know that a lot of people are going to be trying it. And, you know, because cloud is everywhere. Like, it's on phones, it's on handhelds like the ROG Ally, it's on TVs, it's on the Fire Stick, it's on the console, it's everywhere. Like, that was the goal with cloud. They want to be everywhere, and you see advertisements on everything. So for, like, to play it on the cloud. Now imagine if you're browsing, I don't know, something on TV or even on the Fire Stick or whatever, and you see an ad, Call of Duty, play it right now, and you just click on it, and then you just, sign in, and you're done. You're playing Call of Duty, that's the future. Like, if you really think about it, like, that's the future. We can't see it right now because cloud gaming is still in its infancy. So, I mean, remember, people said the same thing about, streaming movies and TV shows and stuff like that. It was in its infancy. People didn't see it. They thought, no, it's never gonna mature enough to replace, physical and stuff like that. And there's still people who are in denial about that, even though freaking places like Walmart and Best Buy are doing away with physical copies because nobody buys them. Everything's streaming now. So, but that's a whole nother conversation. But, yeah, so, yeah, Call of Duty is gonna be on streaming, and I think this is a good move, and hopefully not the only move, because I do think that they need to work to get more games on cloud streaming. Now, again, they have to go through Ubisoft to do this. They can't just do it. That's the problem. So, and that was one of the concessions and stuff like that. And it's gonna be interesting too, because we talked about it last week about Ubisoft potentially being bought out by Tencent. What does that mean? Like, will that affect this deal? I would have to assume that Microsoft put like a contingency, like if Ubisoft gets bought out, then, the rights revert back to them. That only makes sense, right? So yeah, so we'll see how this plays out. But anyway, it's good to see that they are willing to do these moves. It's not like they're just gonna like forget about Ubisoft and be like, nobody cares about cloud. Like, no, they want cloud to be a thing, and they're gonna do whatever they need to do to make sure that cloud becomes viable. And, yeah, so this is good, and hopefully more ABK games come as a result. So good on Xbox for doing that. Anyway, so on to our last story. Like I said, this is gonna be a shorter show. I just don't want to do anything too crazy. I'm by myself, so cut me some slack. I think I'm doing a pretty good job. Anyway, so our last story is, Spider-Man 2 is coming to PC. So it was announced that at New York Comic Con, Marvel's Spider-Man 2 will hit PC on January 30th, 2025, following its PS5 debut last year. Available on Steam and Epic Games Store, this Nixxes software developed PC port boasts enhanced graphics, including ray tracing and ultra-wide screen support. However, with this announcement, Insomniac also noted that they will not be releasing additional story content or new DLCs for Spider-Man 2 on PS5 or PC. Fans can still enjoy the features like New Game Plus, more suits, and expanded photo mode. So this comes as a huge disappointment. Now, we've talked ad nauseum about Spider-Man 2 and our feelings about it, so it should come to no surprise that while me and Brother Zay both enjoyed the game, it just didn't hit the mark that we were expecting it to hit. It was just, I don't know, it felt too samey. It just felt safe. It felt like just more of the same. Now, granted, that's not a bad thing. I wanna be very clear about that being it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. However, when you're spending money on a sequel, especially $70, you expect it to be more. Now, if you enjoyed the first Spider-Man game and you just want more of that, Spider-Man 2 is the perfect game for you, and it's amazing. And I think it was great too. I enjoyed my time with it. However, when you have a follow-up to one of the greatest superhero games in a long time, since Batman Arkham Asylum, or even Arkham City, there is a higher standard that you kind of have to meet. So Spider-Man 2, while it how do I put this? It's on the same level of Spider-Man 1. It needs to be better. I feel like in my opinion, a sequel needs to surpass the original. And it just didn't. It just felt more of the same. It felt like a giant DLC. And some people might think that's okay. I don't. If I'm spending $70, I don't think so. if they were gonna do that route, then they should, cause like, if you look at Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, that could have been a sequel. If you look at the content that it provided, that could have been a sequel. But they didn't, because they know it was on the level of Elden Ring, the base game. So they released it as a DLC. So they're bringing this to PC. Now, we knew it was coming to PC. Like, that's been PlayStation's strategy. They've been putting games on PC. They're waiting, like, it's just a timed exclusive for PlayStation now. All their games are timed exclusive. There are some exceptions, but for the most part, all PlayStation games are going to be timed exclusive. So we knew this was coming, but the significant part about this is that it is coming just over a year after its release on PlayStation 5. Now, Sony they've been open about their strategy for moving to PC, and they've said that, according to them, the PlayStation is going to be the focus, and then that's going to be the premier platform. Like, if you want to play games, or PlayStation games, you got to get a PlayStation Play first. Like, that's been their motto. That's what they're focusing on and stuff like that. But they've also released games day and date on PC as well. Like Concord. Now, that's not the best example because it's not even around anymore. But they've also done Helldivers that way. And I would assume they are gonna do other games like Marathon, made by Bungie. That's gonna be on all platforms, including Xbox. So they're picking and choosing depending on like what type of game it is, like what they're gonna do with it. If they're gonna release it on PlayStation first and then on other platforms later. Even freaking Lego Horizon. That's gonna come to Switch, and PlayStation. So like, they're very selective. Now, previous games that came to PC, they always had that little buffer. They always had a 2-year buffer. That's what people were saying. There's gonna be 2 years and then it's gonna come to PC. And people were kind of okay with that. But now this is just over a year. This is less time. Now, you can argue that this is because of the licensing fees from Disney and Marvel, that very expensive. They want more on their return. So maybe they were pressured into releasing on PC fast or sooner. Who knows? But the fact that this is coming to PC just over a year, after release on PS5, it begs the question, like, is this window of exclusivity on PlayStation going to shrink? I think it is, because one thing that has been prevalent throughout this generation is that Sony is not comfortable with selling to the same amount of people that they've been selling to for the past decade. So what do I mean by that? Is that, okay, so let's say a person buys a PlayStation 4 and they buy all the games on there and stuff like that. So that same person is going to buy a PS5. The point of, I don't want to say the point of, but like the goal of PlayStation and Xbox and Nintendo is growth. All they want to see is growth. That's the main thing that they care about, is growth. Now, you can say that it's stupid to kind of always expect growth. Like, there's going to be some, what's the opposite of growth? Shrinkage. But, there's going to be downturns. Like, it's not always going to be growth. And right now, PlayStation is on a downturn. They're not growing the brand. The same people who are buying PS4s are buying PS5s. It's the same user base, and you can keep selling to those user bases, but the problem with that is you're just gonna make the same money. And if you're making the same money with these ballooning budgets that these games have these days, you're gonna get less in return. So let's say, like, I think, what was it, the first Spiderman game, I'm thinking off the top of my head because I don't want to look it up right now. I think it was like 120 million, so like 150 million to make the first Spider-Man game, and it ballooned for the sequel to 300 million. Now imagine if you're selling these games, take that price of, like, increase for PS5 games aside. If you're selling these games to the same amount of people, you're gonna get the same back. But because it costs more to make, you're actually getting less back. That's one of the reasons why they did the price increase to begin with, is because they know that they're going to sell to the same people. So instead of shortening or shrinking the budget, they're just passing off the cost to the players, to the gamers, us. And that's why I'm so against, like, defending price increases, because, like, it just doesn't make sense as a consumer. Like, why would you don't benefit from a price increase. You're literally just defending the corporations, making more money off of you. Like, no, like, they should be smart enough to manage their money better. Why should we have to pay for them wanting to make more money? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Oh, it's inflation, blah, blah, blah. No, that's bullshit. It's not inflation. They can control that. They can control the price of their games and how much they cost and what deals they make with Disney and Marvel and stuff like that. Cause honestly, that's the real reason why that, they're so, like, gun shy about their profit margins, because, Marvel and Disney take like 35 to 50% off of every sale, depending on, like, if it's a bundle and what kind of edition it is. Like, they're not making the same amount. Like, they're making maybe like 8 million to 20 million, not 8 million, like 80 million to 200 million in profit, when they could have been making 500. So it's a difference. It's a big difference for Sony, and that's why they're like pushing so hard on PC, because they know that's where the growth is. This is what Xbox realized 10 years ago when they moved to PC. Like, they knew that the way to growth is PC, because you're not going to convince people on PC to buy a console or spend hundreds of dollars on a console when they would rather just play the game on PC. So just sell the games to them on there. Like, that makes the most sense. So essentially, they're following Xbox in their footsteps, and now their PC strategy is starting to play out in front of everybody's eyes, and a lot of people are just in denial about it, and they just don't want to believe that Sony's gonna start releasing games day and day on PC. Like, for them, it doesn't compute, like, because that's not what they do. But times are changing, and we hear rumors about Xbox releasing a hybrid console, and we hear every year, I fear every generation, we hear that this PlayStation might be the last PlayStation. Like, they've been saying that so many times. I believe that they want to end generations. They don't want to constantly release hardware that is not that it's gonna not sell, but it's gonna sell to the same people. And they want growth. They want more people to buy their stuff, and they're not buying the consoles. So, anyway, so it's coming to PC, and it's coming out sooner than people thought. A lot of people think that it's probably because of the leaks and stuff like that. I don't think it has anything to do with the leaks. If that were the case, then they'd be doing a lot of different stuff now. One thing that people do believe is part of, or the reason for it, is because of the leaks, is the no story DLC. Now, that is a huge bummer, because I love I like the plot lines of the story that they had laid out, and I'm a big Spider-Man fan, like, in general. So I wanted to see Carnage. I wanted to see more of Miles and his story, because now Peter's retired. And spoilers, sorry, about, like, what's gonna happen going forward. Like, I wanted to see all that stuff, and there were loose threads. Like, there was supposed to be a Venom DLC. There was supposed to be Beetle, something like that. Like, that was part of the leak. Do I think they canceled it because of the leak? No. I think that's stupid. Why would they cancel something cool just because people know about it? Like, no. Like, people were excited for that. They wanted to know, like, when this stuff was coming, so that way they can buy it. Like, people would buy this stuff. But it's really disheartening that they decided to just not release it, because we knew it was planned. They scrapped it. I don't think they scrapped it for good. I think they're gonna push it to another game. Like, they're gonna push it to Spider-Man 3. Just so that way they can have a reason for people to buy that game. Which kind of sucks, because that's part of the reason why, the Spider-Man 2 feels the way it does. Like I said, it feels like a DLC. Like, and now Spider-Man 3 is gonna feel like Spider-Man 2 DLC. So it's like, oh man. It's such a shame too, because Insomniac deserves better. They've been carrying PlayStation through this generation by all their releases, and now they have Wolverine that's coming out, which that might release on PlayStation and PC on the same time. Because like, if Disney is putting enough pressure on Sony, well, I don't know, I'm just making an assumption, but I'm assuming that Disney is putting more pressure on Sony to, produce dividends for them faster. And the only way to do that is if you release on multiple platforms, which that might end up being releasing on Xbox too, because like, why wouldn't you, like, if Disney is looking to make a profit, and look what they did with Indiana Jones. That game is coming out a few months after Xbox on PlayStation. So Disney is putting the pressure on their licenses. So I think there is more of a likelihood that Wolverine might come to Xbox than not, but we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, it just sucks, because like, one thing that I was looking forward to was story DLC, and now we're not going to get it. So it just sucks. But overall, I think it'll end up being okay. Like, I think hopefully this means that Spider-Man 3 is closer to release than, we thought. I don't like the idea of Insomniac basically becoming the Marvel studio, because we saw the leak too, and they had an X-Men game planned, and the Wolverine, and apparently a Venom spin-off, and it's like they're just doing the Spider-Verse and then X-Men, and it's like, I want them to do more. I want them to, be creative. Like, they're such a great studio. They shouldn't be pigeonholed into just making Marvel games. Like, if they're gonna do that, they should like split the team, so that way you can have the people making the Spider-Man games and the Marvel games, and then have another branch doing original titles. But yeah, so so we'll see what happens and how this plays out, and what the future holds for Insomniac and their Marvel games and stuff like that, because like I said, I want the best for Insomniac. They're such a great developer, and they deserve more than this. So, I don't know. But anyway, that's gonna do it for me, guys. Remember, you can like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. You can rate us and share our podcast if you're listening on a podcast app. You can support us by supporting our sponsors in the description below. And next week, one more thing I want to address. I forgot to talk about it. I know I said I was gonna live stream more, like this month, for like Halloween and stuff like that, but I severely underestimated how busy I was gonna be on the weekends, because my week is work now. So now the stuff that I gotta do is on the weekends now. I can't do it on my days off during the week. So yeah, I apologize. I do plan on doing a live stream for the weekend before Halloween, which is next weekend. Hopefully I'm able to do it. Hopefully nothing comes up, because I do want to. It's not like I'm being lazy or anything. I'm just so busy, and I just don't have time for anything. So yeah, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, that'll do it for me. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.